Hello and welcome to the Japan Archives, a podcast where we'll be delving into the histories and mythologies from Japan's long history. I'm your host, Thomas.
And I'm your co-host, Heather. We'll also be reading a poem for you every week and giving a little history about the poet who wrote it. Ikimashou!
Hey guys, and welcome back to episode 31 now of the Japan Archives. Heather, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. It's a nice day.
Weather report.
I know, the weather report. Actually, we're getting the spring blossom report this time because I saw a tree not too far from where I live is starting to bud. I got little teeny tiny little pink flowers starting to come. I think it's a plum. I don't think it's the cherry yet. I think the plums are the first ones. And I've seen daffodils. So, that means beautiful flowers, beautiful greenery, delightful pollen. And mosquitoes. I have seen mosquitoes already. I don't want
Already?
those. Already. I don't want those. I want the flowers and not the mosquitoes.
Yeah, I agree.
And how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. I'm quite excited. We've had a good week. We've hit 5,000 listens.
Yay!
Which is great news. Happy about that. What else? I'm in the home stretch now of school. Just 3 more weeks, and then we'll be done, and then I'll get the spring break. So that's also good. So yeah, I'm doing pretty well, thank you. So a quick little aside before we jump into today's episode. I wanted to quickly mention a website that I've heard mentioned by some other podcasters called Podchaser. And Podchaser is what people are calling it the IMDb of podcasting. So if you're enjoying the show and you do want to give a like and review, but you're listening through apps which don't let you do such a thing, then you can head over to this website. All our episodes are on there for you to listen to. You can rate the podcast as a whole, and you can even rate and review individual episodes. And any like and review you could give us would be extremely helpful in finding us a few new listeners and, also letting us know what we're doing well, what we can improve on, what we could change, what you want to listen to, and things like that. So yeah, if you're wanting to leave a review and you haven't yet, or you haven't been able to because of the app you've been using, then I would kindly ask you to head over to Podchaser. But yeah, with that out the way, Heather, are you ready to jump into today's episode?
Absolutely, I am.
Now, do you remember what my topic is today?
I do. I'm so excited for this one. I can't wait. Please enlighten us, elaborate, and tell us again. I'm so excited.
Okay, so today I wanted to talk about a woman known as Tomoe Gozen, or simply Lady Tomoe. Now, she lived between the Heian and the Kamakura period, and I want to talk about her because, well, it's been a while, first of all, since we talked about the samurai. It was actually episode 4 was the last time we talked about samurai, Sugitani Zenjubo, so it's been a very, very long time. So now, before elaborating about how she was a samurai, as there might be some of listeners thinking that only men could be samurai, I did want to quickly talk a little bit more about her background. But as per every week, do you already know anything about her, or is this a completely new thing for you?
This is completely new. I have not heard of her before.
Okay, so we know Lady Tomoe was born on January 1157. She was the daughter of a man known as Nakahara no Kaneto, and her mother was Chizuru Gozen. Her father was also a samurai, and from what I can tell, he was a part of the Nakahara clan, and that's what I could glean from the Japanese sources I briefly had to look at about her father. So yeah, even now I'm delving into Japanese sources, so I really do need to start brushing up on my Japanese again. I need to start studying.
We'll get
I'll
there.
find time, I'm sure. As for her children, We know of one by the name of Yoshitaka that we're kind of comfortable in saying was her son. However, from what I've found, it's possible that she had 3 other sons by the name of Yoshishige, Yoshimoto, and Yoshimune. But it's unclear, like I said, whether they were actually her sons or not. Interestingly, the Gozen part of her name is not actually a name. It is a rather archaic title that was used back then to mean something like Her Ladyship or My Lady, which means unfortunately we actually don't know her last name, so hence I've been calling her Lady Tomoe in this episode. She's thought to have served as one of the concubines of Minamoto no Yoshinaka, whom her family had close ties with, and she died in 1247 at the grand old age of 90 years old, which I think is quite impressive for the time. I don't know if Japan had better healthcare than medieval Europe at the time, if that's potentially why she lived for so long. So yeah, that's something I'd be interested in looking into. If you wish to visit her, you can actually find her resting place in Otsu City. And Heather, I swear when I chose this woman, I did not know this, or if I did, I forgot. But Otsu City is located on the shores of Lake Biwa.
Lovely. Lovely. Otsu sounded familiar too. I've heard of that before.
When I was writing the notes, I was like, I'm pretty sure we've mentioned Otsu before. So I did a quick check on Google Maps and I was like, yep, okay. Even when we don't intend to be near Biwa, we always end up being back to Biwa. But there we go. So if we go back to the whole samurai element of today, as I said, some people may be thinking that, she was a woman. So how could she be a samurai? Samurai was something only men could be. And in a way, I feel that you would be correct in your thinkings. However, there were a group of women which were actually included within the class of samurai, or bushi as they were known in Japanese. And these women were known as the onna-bugeisha. So a little bit about the onna-bugeisha. In English, we can translate that as meaning female martial artists. And just basically, they were a group of female warriors which belonged to the Japanese nobility. It's said that these women would happily join the samurai in battle and fight alongside them, and that they were also fully trained to be proficient in the use of weaponry, to be used to protect their house, family, as well as honor in times of war.
I have a question about samurai in general. So when did the samurai start?
You asked me this in episode 4.
I probably did, but I don't remember.
More or less, the samurai, they existed medieval Japan, so from around the 12th century, and they existed all the way up until the abolition of the samurai caste in the 1870s.
You said it was bugeisha? Bugeisha? Is that the right word?
The onna-bugeisha, yes.
Onna-bugeisha, when did they start?
Obviously, the onna-bugeisha started to evolve and exist when the samurai started to develop, so around the 12th century, and during the Kamakura period, which I will, in more specifically the Genpei Wars, which were between 1180 and 1185. We know of a lot of women who fell into the category of onna-bugeisha at the time. But we do have a few instances of them existing before this time period, but they're more of an honorary figure or honorary ancestor. So one of the earliest ones that they actually class as the onna-bugeisha is actually the Empress Jingu. She acted as the Empress regent between the 14th and 15th emperor of Japan, and she lived between circa 170 to 270 AD. So she does predate the onna-bugeisha by quite a long period of time. But she is recognized as an onna-bugeisha as historically, even though she may be more of a mythical figure, she is thought to have led an invasion to Korea in 200 AD. She's also said to have done this the whole time whilst completely pregnant. She miraculously led the entire conquest without shedding a single drop of blood. But yes, in a way, she is seen as a an original onna-bugeisha, or at least an honored ancestor of them. But between her and the later Kamakura period, I haven't really come across much else that mentions them. So I hope that kind of answers your question.
Yeah, I think it sounds like probably to get more of the history, we'll probably have to dive into actual Japanese written history. So based on what you're able to get, I think that sounds great. Thank you. Carry on.
So yeah, that was a little bit about the onna-bugeisha, and thank you for the question. It was actually quite interesting to talk about a bit more of the origins of them. So if you are interested to know more about the appearance and overall character of Lady Tomoe, we can turn to a 14th century document known as The Tale of the Hake, which is a epic story compilation of the struggles between the Taira clan and the Minamoto clans at the time, who were basically vying for control of Japan during the end of the 12th century, and this entire period became collectively known as the Genpei Wars. Within the tale, it specifically says this about Lady Tomoe. Tomoe was especially beautiful, with white skin, long hair, and charming features. She was also a remarkably strong archer, and as a swordswoman, she was a warrior worth 1,000, ready to confront a demon or a god, mounted or on foot. She handled unbroken horses with superb skill. She rode unscathed down perilous descents. Whenever a battle was imminent, Yoshinaka sent her out as his first captain, equipped with a strong armor, an oversized sword, and a mighty bow. And she performed more deeds of valor than any of his other warriors. So, as you can kind of see from this description, she was kind of badass.
Very impressive. Wow. I'm like, I almost want you to read that again because she sounds, yeah, amazing.
But I looked a bit more into the mentioning of the oversized sword that she is said to have used in the description. It's of interest as there is a bit of a debate as to actually what is meant by this. However, generally it is thought that Lady Tomoe would have wielded something known as a naginata. Now, these weapons basically consisted of a sword blade attached to a long pole, meaning you could easily defend yourself from not only mounted enemies, but also defend yourself from afar. We know that these weapons grew in prominence around the time that Lady Tomoe lived, and it even later on became a popular inclusion for the dowry of a samurai's wife. From this, the martial art known as the Naginata Jutsu was formed, which primarily uses this weapon, and it has even remained an important female sport into modern times in Japan. We're now going to head into 1183. So in this year, there was a battle known as the Battle of Kurikara, in which Lady Tomoe found herself alongside Yoshinaka, her lord, and her husband. Interestingly enough, this battle was a resounding success for her, for Yoshinaka, and the Minamoto clan overall, against the Taira clan who they were fighting. One of the main reasons for this being such a good and interesting victory is actually that the Minamoto clan unleashed a herd of stampeding cattle at their enemy. Attached to the horns of the cattle were burning flames, burning torches, and basically these angry cattle that were on fire charging into the ranks of their enemy secured the Minamoto clan a victory. So definitely an ingenious way to win a battle. But yes, Lady Tomoe was at this battle when it happened, so I'm pretty sure she would have seen this horror unfold before her, perhaps. So anyway, we will now jump to the next year. So another battle in Lady Tomoe's life. So in 1184, there was another battle, and this battle was the Battle of Awazu, and it occurred on January the 21st of that year. Lady Tomoe now is merely 27 years old, and this battle was actually fought against the cousin and rival of her husband Yoshinaka. Basically occurred because her husband Yoshinaka betrayed his cousin. So this was not a battle between two opposing clans, but it was actually an internal battle between the Minamoto clan. So his cousin went by the name of Minamoto no Yoshitsune, and I read a little bit about him, and he will definitely be getting an episode to himself. But unfortunately, the battle did not go well for Lady Tomoe's side. During the battle, it is said that she did behead a few people, such as a man known as Honda no Morishige, and it's also known that during the battle, two different samurai by the names of Uchida Ieyoshi and Hatakeyama Shigetada attempted to capture her during the battle, but Lady Tomoe, being as skilled as she was, managed to evade both of them and in return slew Uchida. Now, like I said, the battle did not go their way, and what once started as a force of some 1,000 men now only numbered probably less than 10.
Oh.
Now, because Lady Tomoe was not technically a samurai and was not held up to the, up to the same standards in a way, she was exempt from some of the samurai creeds, and so Yoshinaka, her husband, told her to flee the battle. She did not have to stay there and die. Yoshinaka is said to have recited the following to try and get her to leave. I shall die in battle, or if I am wounded, I shall take my own life. But it shall not be said that Yoshinaka came to final end in the company of a woman.
Okay, keep going. I have some words, but I'll save them to the end.
Okay. So, Lady Tomoe, being as brave and as skilled as she is, it takes her a while to decide to listen to her husband's words, to allow him to die upon the battleground by himself or by the side of his few remaining men. But eventually she leaves, she hangs back on her horse, but she does want to do one last deed to show her husband, or at least the enemy, how brave she is. And apparently in that very moment, 30 men on horseback are said to have appeared. Without even thinking, she decides to instantly charge into their ranks on her horse. As she does so, she grabs one of the riders with such force that she drags the man from his saddle and drags him onto hers, before she quickly twists his head off and rides away, shedding her armor as she does so. And I think it's probably safe to say that all the men of that group who just witnessed that happening were a bit lost for words.
So essentially, Yoshinaka betrayed his cousin. Instead, they decide to have a battle with other people as opposed just between the two of them. So they involved thousands of people and ended up killing many people because they had a personal argument between them. And then when the tides had turned... It was
probably more than a personal argument, I'm going to assume. But yeah, I didn't look too much into it. Like when you did the research for Rita and you kind of keep it just about her, I kind of did the same here. I just wanted to look at what she did in the battle. So perhaps there was some big political scheming behind it, but I still see what you mean. Like he still betrayed his family, but yeah, they dragged thousands of people into their feud in a way.
Or to whatever happened in between them. Was there really a need to bring armies into it? And then also when he's potentially going to die, even though she had fought beside them, to die beside a woman was somehow dishonorable.
It's interesting women could attain such high ranking, but then similarly to then die besides a woman was dishonorable.
So it was similar, but definitely not equal at all. Yeah, so very still, even though she had done really amazing things and was very powerful, still, because she was female, it kind of didn't matter.
From the looks of it, yes.
So, okay, continue on, sir.
So what happens next? She's been told to leave the battle, and she does so, shedding her armor as she did. And I'm afraid to say, Heather, that we sadly do not know what comes next in her story. Some people believe that she remarried, or there's others that say she retired and became a nun. But in all honesty, that is where her story will end for now. Because after she fled the battle, there's nothing about her. At least nothing that I've found.
So we don't even know for sure if she fled the battle or if she possibly was killed on the way out of the battle or met some fate outside the battlefield or anything.
Like I said, the only thing we do know is she was 27 during the battle, but we do know that she died when she was 90. So she did live another 63 years, but what she did with those years, I do not know. We do not know.
How did they know it was actually her that died at 90 then? If there's no records, it's just, oh yes, I am Lady Tomoe.
All the books I've read, they only talk about her exploits in battle, and anything that mentions stuff afterwards, it's just theories of, oh, she either remarried or, oh, perhaps she became a nun. So yeah, how they don't know what she did after, but how they know she died at 90, I have no idea if I'm honest. I'm assuming they have read something. It's not just a guess because all the books I've read agree that she died on this date, or at least very close to the date. So, yeah, I honestly am not sure. Well, no one's really sure what she did after this battle.
So we have a little mystery on our hands, it sounds like.
We do. We have a little mystery that probably might never be solved. So I briefly wanted to mention after this then the legacy that she left. Like, is she still relevant is the wrong word, but relevant in modern day, if you you understand what I'm saying. The correct word escapes me right now. So we do know that a no play was written about her by a man known as Ziami, who was born in 1363. So that is about 120 years after her apparent death at the age of 90. The play itself was named after her, so the play is called Tomoe, and it is classified as a Nibame Mono, or a two-part play. And the interesting thing about this is the only play in this type of genre where the main character is actually a woman. So the story starts, please have a guess where the story starts.
Near Lake Biwa?
It does. So the story starts on Lake Biwa, where a traveling Buddhist monk encounters a woman who requests that he prays for the dead. As he does so, it's said that an apparition appears, and this apparition is of Lady Tomoe. So I guess that in the elements of this play, she returns as a ghost, perhaps. And it's said that the warlike mistress of Minamoto Yoshinaka relates to the Buddhist monk the tale of how she was not allowed to commit suicide with her lover and in his time of defeat. And after recounting this tale to him, she wields a halberd in her hand and demonstrates her courage in front of the monk with a battle dance before finally disappearing. I'm not sure what a battle dance is.
Have you ever seen Kabuki before?
I saw some shows when my friends visited. They bought me a ticket as a gift. And they were interesting, but there was no real fighting in them as far as I can remember.
Okay, I've seen a little bit with some fighting, so I'm assuming it is maybe a stylized, slow version of perhaps fighting and also maybe waving the halberd.
But yes, so that is the summary of the play that was written about her. But between 1981 and 1984, a Japanese fantasy series was written about her life. By Jessica Salmonson. And in addition to books, she has appeared in many video games as side characters. She even appeared in the recent game of Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, as one of the mentors to one of the antagonists of the game. And one final thing that I found out, she appears in a festival known as the Festival of Ages, which is held on October 22nd every year at the Heian Shrine in Kyoto.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so that might have to be a trip we might have to make later this year.
It would be a nice trip to take to go watch this festival about her, or at least related to her. But yes, that is everything I found out about Lady Tomoe. It's a shame we don't know what happened after the battles, even if she did just retire to become a nun. It's a shame we don't have any stories about what she did during her time in a nunnery, but that's just how history is sometimes. Sometimes we just can't fill in the blanks.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story, even though there is a big blank period, but the
big cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's really amazing. So she lived such an early time period, but in modern history, she's still relevant and important, and information about her is shared. I'm assuming it sounds like she's shared more than Yoshinaka, which I mean, at least based on what you're telling us, you're telling it from her perspective, I'm assuming. I'm not sure if he's mentioned quite as much, but the fact that she is mentioned as an important figure is really wonderful. And it's really nice because she did something during a time period when I'm sure not a lot of women could do this or were able or were allowed to do this, but she was able to fight alongside people in battle and lived. I mean, to 27, to live in battle is for anyone is especially during that time period when even if you got injured, there's a possibility your injury could get infected. You can die from an infection. There's so many things that could happen. Just even if you don't die in battle, you could die after battle, and the exertion from doing it as well. That she was able to fight for so long alongside, you know, several other samurai, male samurai, and she lived. She survived the battle, and I assumed if Yoshinaka hadn't told her just to leave and insulted her, which it sounds like he did, she probably would have died on that field, because I don't know the honor code that the onna-bugeisha had, but I assume it would be really similar along the lines of the samurai as well.
The only thing I vaguely remember is when I went to the Samurai Museum in Tokyo, my friend I was with actually did ask, like, oh, what about female samurai? And the tour guide did say, oh, female couldn't be samurai, there weren't no female samurai. But apparently, like, women who, if I'm remembering this rightly, what she said, like, women who were married to samurai who committed seppuku or committed suicide, they could also kill themselves, but they had to do it by taking a knife to their throat instead. So they were allowed to do it, but they had to do it in a slightly different way. But I don't know if that was onna-bugeisha or just women married to samurai. So I need to double check that.
Yeah.
Very quick, there was one thing I forgot to mention. There is actually a statue to Tomoe situated outside a museum, the Yoshinaka Yakata Museum in Nagano. And this museum is set up to display the life of her husband. And so there is a statue of him outside with his wife stood next to him, standing protectively over him.
Oh, so there goes my theory that perhaps she was more well known than he was. Oh, that was my theory gone.
I do think, from what I've read, she is the most famous of the onna-bugeisha. Like, she is a name that people know. But yeah, obviously, a lot of the time in history, when you look back at it, it's mostly a history of men.
The stories are there, they're just fewer and farther between.
Yeah.
But it's glad that it's fantastic that you found this one and that you could share this one with us. I am super impressed. Like she just sounds like an amazing person and did so much. And so she was recorded for doing anything else? Did she do like any literature, poetry, art?
Not from what I can tell. For everything I've read, it's literally her history is always the history of the battles that she was in and her connection as an onna-bugeisha to Yoshinaka. So yeah, if she wrote poetry, we don't know. If she wrote any books, we don't know. Any diaries, again, we don't know.
I definitely am very glad I heard that story, and I'm gonna have to do some more research into it now myself. Now that you've shared it with me, I really need to go do some more research because I want to learn more about her. If I can find something, hopefully find anything, that would be really exciting.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate that. That was really good. I feel like it's going to be one of those things where I think about in the next few days, and I'll be like, "Oh, Thomas, what about this?" Because that happens sometimes, especially when it's a story where it goes against a lot of the things I know about Japanese history, limited as they are. To have a story from a woman's point of view, where it's like a strong woman's point of view, is definitely different than I would have expected. And it's really wonderful thing to be able to find that and to know that. And I'm hoping that you can, in the course of your research, you're going to be able to find more stories about women who did things that maybe weren't expected out of them during the course of history.
Yeah, it's definitely something I will look into more for sure. finding lesser known things would be something I would like to talk about, as well as the well-known stuff.
Absolutely. It's nice to find things that are like off the beaten path, perhaps.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
It's okay. So, with my tale out the way for today, it's on to you, Heather. Back to you. Over to you. Take it away. Take the wheel. That was kind of weird. Just roll with it. Just go with it.
I was trying to, but it's making me giggle. Oh, okay. Why, thank you, Thomas. Thank you for that nice introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. Any day.
So, Thomas, today I have for you a haiku kotoba.
Haiku kotoba.
Haiku kotoba.
I should know these words. Well, I know what haiku is, obviously. But you've talked about kotoba before, and now it escapes me.
It's a tongue twister.
It was when we did... Yes, I was about to say, was it a tongue twister?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
I should have
it's a haiku tongue twister.
This one's good. I'm really excited for this one, and I am so scared I'm going to mangle it horribly. So, Thomas, when you are ready, grab your pencil, and let's go.
I have a pencil, I have my paper.
Okay. Sumomo mo, momo momo no uchi. I'll do it one more time.
Yes, please.
Sumomo mo, momo no uchi.
So, in amongst all the momos, I'm assuming one of the momos will be Peach.
Yay!
Is that a safe guess?
That is a safe
And I'm
guess.
assuming at the start you said sumo, as in like a sumo.
I said sumomo.
A sumomo. I don't know what sumomo is, I'm sorry.
I didn't either.
At the end I heard uchi, as in like inside.
Uchi can be like uchi could be like inside, or it could be another word for like family or group.
So what you're telling me is I was wrong in a very polite way.
When I say it, the interpretation for the context of the sentence was a little bit different interpretation.
Okay, I was wrong. I get it. It's fine. So what is the English then for the tongue twister?
Peaches and plums are both members of the peach family.
Peaches and plums are part of the same peach family.
Yes.
Okay. So let's break that down for people.
Sumomo is plum.
Okay.
Mo is a particle, and it means like also. So it's sumomo mo, and then momo is peaches. Perfect. Mo, again, also. Momo, peach, no uchi. Family. So momo is peach, momo no. No is a describing where peaches are from. Like, so it's saying peaches from family. Peaches family.
So it's another particle in this instance.
Yeah, momo no is peaches.
So it like joins two words together in like a joint meaning.
Yeah, so it's like an adjective describing the noun. So like Thomas's peaches.
Okay. So sumomo mo, momo
Mo.
no uchi.
Yes.
Aya.
So if you look at just the hiragana, it looks like su mo no uchi.
It probably looks like a hot mess in hiragana.
It does a little bit. When I was reading it, I had to count on my fingers. Su mo no uchi. And I think I even did it wrong there.
Yeah, there's like 8 modes in a row. Okay. But obviously, when you have the kanji, it makes it a bit easier to, well, not easier to say, but easier to at least understand what the hell is going on.
Yeah, it's a little easier to read because you can go sumomo momo no uchi. So I can read that much faster. And I didn't know the kanji for plum until I looked at this tongue twister. So I had no idea. Peach, I've seen before. I probably don't recognize it so often, but I have seen it. And so it's much easier, strangely, to keep your place as opposed to su momo no uchi.
I see.
I'll give in the show notes, I'll put both the kanji and the hiragana. And I'll put the romaji as well. So in case you don't know kanji or hiragana, you can still play along and try to say this as fast as you can. And just go momo.
Awesome. I was going to ask, do we know who this one is by, or is it more of an anonymous tongue twister?
As far as my understanding, tongue twisters are just one of those things that have been around, that it didn't come from a specific person. They're just things that have been. I mean, think of Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Where did that come from?
True.
Do we know where that came from?
I have to check now. So the Peter Piper tongue twister comes from a book called Peter Piper's Practical Principles of Plain and Perfect Pronunciation by John Harris, who lived between 1756 and 1846.
Oh, I am just.
There we go.
I am excited. I'm like, I had no idea. Oh, that is super exciting. And now I want to go read this book because I'm assuming there's a lot more pronunciation exercises in it.
That was the first time it was published, but yeah, there is some people that think it predates it a little bit earlier. But yeah, that was the first time it was at least written down.
Oh, okay. So possible oral history that had been written down. Okay, well, I'm still excited because I didn't know it was written down in a book. Well,
yeah, neither did I.
Older book.
Well, at least one so early.
True, because you've seen it in children's books, I'm sure, when you were growing up, but an early instance of it. But still, even then, the origins of Peter Piper are kind of muddied in the veil of time.
True. So yeah, that was a weird. What's the word when you go off on one?
Tangent?
Thank you. So that was a strange tangent we just went on. I don't think we've ever been on a tangent before in these episodes.
Not that we've kept. So it's tongue twister history, not just Japanese, but also we're getting into European as well.
It is. So yeah, I enjoyed that tongue twister actually. It's kind of simple to say as long as you remember you have to say 8 times.
Now, the thing is that gets more difficult is trying to say it 3 times or 5 times fast in a row because mo, like when you say mo, and you have to, because in Japanese, you don't often like kind of open and close your mouth so much. But for the sound, you have to constantly open and close. So it's mo, 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 mo. And it sounds like a mumbling. It makes it a little bit more because ta, 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 ta. If you say like ta, 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 you're not closing your mouth so much. But the sound, you have to have that more closed mouth and then open for the o, and so it's a back and forth. So I think you could easily lose track of your moles.
Yeah.
So if anyone tries this, please let us know. If you can figure out how to send us a voice recording, would love to hear your interpretation of su momo momo mo 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 monouchi. I think I said it enough times.
Yeah, that would be interesting. If people want to give it a go and send it in, feel free to do that. That would be great.
Well, I guess it turned into an impromptu Japanese lesson as well. So Japanese/tongue twister lesson today.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It was interesting. I might use it on my kids at school. If we have a lesson on tongue twisters, I can give them an English one. I can give them a Japanese one. Might be interesting. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, thank you for the tongue twister. It was really interesting.
You're so welcome. And thank you so much for the story about Lady Tomoe. I will be thinking on that for the next few days, and I probably will have a question for you the next time we chat.
Okay, that sounds good to me. So I guess that's it for today, guys. Thank you for tuning in for this episode. So last week we started with telling you what's going to be in the following episode. So we're going to keep that ball rolling, I think. It's a nice little addition to our episodes. So next week, episode 32, I want to go back to the ninja, which again, it's been a while since we talked about them. But this time I don't want to talk about a person. We're going to be talking about like the ninja's arsenal, so their weaponry, their clothing, their skills and stuff like that, getting to the history of that and learn a bit more about what they use and how they use them. As ever, Heather will not be telling me what she's going to do next week. That's always a surprise element for me every week, which is fine. So it will also be a surprise for everyone else listening.
This is true. I like to surprise Thomas.
So again, thank you all for tuning in this week. If you do want to rate and review and you can't do it over on iTunes or Spotify, please head over to podchaser.com. Like I said, you can see a pretty picture of my face and soon Heather's face. You can rate and review the podcast overall, and you can also rate and review podcasts individually per episode. So if you feel inclined to do so, that would be very much appreciated. But that's everything from me as usual. So anything else from you, Heather?
Thank you guys so much for listening, and we really do appreciate you coming back every week. And thank you, and we will keep trying our hardest to make great episodes for you guys. And that's all for me.
All right then. Thanks again, guys. Speak to you next week. Matane.
Matane!
If you've enjoyed the Japan archives, please consider checking out historyofjapan.co.uk, a database we are making on Japanese history. You can also find the show notes for all our episodes here. If you're on Instagram, you can follow my account over at nexus_travels. That's NEXUS_travels.
We also have a Facebook and Twitter page, which you can find at Japan Archives. If you're interested in little slices of life in Japan, be sure to check out my website over at heatheroveryonder.com. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed the episode. And if you have any suggestions for future episodes, have anything you'd love to hear about, head on over to historyofjapan.co.uk and send us a message.
If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to give us a rating and review over on iTunes. Thank you again for listening, guys. Until next time, bye.
Matane!